Hey, Dave and Suzette here with Saddleback Leather again, and we still have with us Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, and he's given us little tips for marriage, and not just any marriage, but for a great marriage. And so what we wanted to do is get a little nugget of truth out of him, something that we can take right now and apply actually today or this hour upon watching this. Suzette and I read his best-selling book and the one that made him famous all over the world with this marriage book, and he's taken it and spoken to hundreds of thousands of people, and it's been huge in so many marriages. And so we just really appreciate your time here, and you have a little tip for us, something we can think about that we can actually that can shape our marriage.
Yeah. Well, and it's actually something I hate in one sense. It's this idea that my response is my responsibility. And it has a nice little ring to it. My response is my responsibility. But I don't like subscribing to that. I'd rather say, Sarah, my wife, makes me who I am. In other words, I'm not loving because she's causing me to be unloving. You know, I mean, I would be a loving man if she was lovable. And women say, you know, I would put on respect toward my husband based on Ephesians 5:33. Husbands are commanded to love, wives are commanded to respect. And the researchers point out love and respect are these two key ingredients for successful marriages. But when you start talking to women about putting on respect, well, I can't respect him. I don't feel any respect for him.
Right.
He's not respectable. He's not loving me. There's no way that I could do that. So ultimately, my spouse is in control of my emotional reactions. And I came to a point where I thought to myself, is that really true? It doesn't mean that we're not affected. We're all affected. We have amoral emotions, sadness, and grief, and there are things that aren't wrong to feel. But at the point where it's, I'm not going to love you because you're not lovable. And the reason that I'm not loving is because of you, Well, I'm not going to respect you because nobody could respect you because I don't feel any respect for you. It'd be hypocritical for me to, and you just make me feel such disrespect. Well, let's unpack that for a moment. If it's true that my response is my responsibility, then the truth is, at the end of the day, Sarah does not cause me to be the way I am. Yeah. She reveals the way I am, and that's ouch. I don't want to subscribe to that. But here's the deal: if I don't, then I am a victim. I'm a hopeless, helpless victim. Sarah's in total control. My happiness is totally based on her doing what she's supposed to do to make me happy. And I came to a point where I thought, do I want to live that way? That I'm actually making her God, so to speak? It doesn't mean that she shouldn't change or that I shouldn't change on either side of that equation. But this first idea is, wait a minute, you don't make me be the way I am. And this is where I began to try to unpack what is unconditional love, what is unconditional respect. And unconditional respect sounds like an oxymoron. But what it means is there's no condition, no situation, no circumstance that can get me to hate you or to get me to show you contempt. If I show you hate, if I choose to be unloving, I mean, it is a choice. If I'm disrespectful, it's my choice. So at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is the key to really influence a relationship is coming to a point where we realize I'm to be a loving man whether you're lovable or not. Who you fail to be isn't going to determine who I'm going to be. And if the husband isn't respectable per se, that doesn't mean that you become an undignified, contemptuous, disdainful, ugly woman. So the challenge for all of us is to realize at the end of the day, I am free. I am free in my spirit to live this way. And when I do, it's going to influence, it's going to impact people. And I'm not going to be whining all the time. I'm not going to be ever trying to change you. If you would just change, then I'd be happy. I mean, what if they lived their whole life saying that to you? I mean, it doesn't work. How in the world have we come to that point? Years ago, and to illustrate this point, there was a young black boy, 14, during the years of our country where slaves were being purchased, and he was up on a block of wood about to be sold to a group of slave owners that were going to bid on him. But prior to the bidding, a slave owner came up to him and whispered in his ear. He said, if I buy you, will you be honest? And the young black boy looked him right in the eye and said, sir, I'll be honest whether or not you buy me. I love that because it says, this is who I am, apart from who you are. I'm going to walk in integrity, whether you buy me or not. I'm going to be an honest person, whether you buy me or not. I'm going to be a loving husband, whether you're lovable or not. Who you are is irrelevant to who I am. I'm going to be a woman of dignity, a woman who speaks truth respectfully. I'm not going to lose my control. I'm not going to become this contemptuous, ugly woman because you're failing to be who I want you to be. I'm going to be this kind of person. And the real challenge for us then is to ask this question, do I really want to go there with this?
Yeah.
Or do I want to default back to the fact that I have a story to tell, and that is my spouse is failing to be the person that I thought they were supposed to be, and I'm unhappy because of them. And women have told me they have a story to tell, and they tell it, and they get a lot of empathy because my husband is failing to be this man, and so she lives her life complaining rather than believing she has the power to actually influence the relationship, as we've talked about in some other tips. And so, too, some guys conclude she's just a witch. It's all she is. There's no way anybody could love that woman. And you're just revealing, sir, who you are as an unloving human being. So a mature person comes to a point they say, ouch, I don't like that idea. My response is my responsibility. But I like to say a speck of sand in the human eye first causes irritation, then if not cared for, infection, and still not cared for, loss of vision. That same speck of sand in an oyster causes irritation, then concretion, and then produces what?
Pearl.
The pearl. Now the question is, did the sand cause the results in the pearl or in the oyster and in the human eye? Technically, no. The sand didn't cause the results. The sand is an irritant that reveals the inner properties of the oyster. The sand is an irritant that reveals the inner properties of the human eye. The sand didn't cause anything. The sand is an irritant. And one of the things I like to say is that we're married to an irritant. And the question is, are we going to lose vision, or are we going to become a precious pearl because of it?
Oh, I like that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'll be using that, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, wanted to just to encourage you guys to work on your home life, work on your spouse, work on in that relationship that you're in, because especially kids, when they see a healthy mom and dad, they'll be seeing a healthy spouse themselves. Almost always they get their confidence, they get all of that stuff by seeing the interactions between mom and dad. So the most loving thing you could do for your kids even is to work on your marriage and not to be so proud that you think you have it all together. And you know, a lot of times people go, man, she's not the woman I married, or he's not the man I married. I think they're bipolar or something. I didn't know, I keep marrying these bipolar people. No, you drove them to madness. And you might want to look at yourself and see how you're being so disrespectful or so unloving to that other person. And but anyway, before you keep on going, if your marriage is in trouble, or you're having tough times in life, you just can't. Even relationships with your daughters, your sons, your brothers and sisters. This is applicable to all sorts of relationships. And this would be a fantastic book, Love and Respect. And you can get it pretty much anywhere, any bookstore. It's all over the place. There's a reason it is. It's a fantastic book. It really helped Suzette and I out significantly. So,
absolutely.
Anyways, just wanted to encourage you. That's a great gift, and it doesn't have to be a birthday or a Christmas or whatever. I had a little story. My brother-in-law, Tim Adams, my brother-in-law. Just throw it out there.
Yeah.
Tim. Hey, Tim. So he bought my sister some, or he didn't, he messed up on Valentine's Day or some day, I forget what it was, and he didn't get her flowers. So he's like, well, okay, note to self, let's do that next time. So next time he got her flowers. And he goes, my sister got mad at him for getting her flowers. And he's like, okay, what's up with this? How can I do this? You know, how can I be? Well, anyway, it turns out she goes, you only get me flowers when you have to. So why don't you give me flowers on March 11th or on October 1st or on some other? Why don't you just for no reason? So it doesn't have to be a birthday or a Mother's Day or a Father's Day. It doesn't have to be a Valentine's Day. Why don't you get one when they're not expecting it? It's kind of like fireworks on the 3rd of July. If they're great, they're way more impacting than they are on the 4th of July. It's the same thing, I think, with roses, with something made of leather for your spouse. Something, when they're not expecting it, those are some of the best gifts. And this would be a great book to sit down, cuddle up with, and read.
Leather-bound, Love and Respect.
Leather-bound, a cover.
Exactly.
I got to think about that. Anyway, thanks a bunch.